His breath brushed against my lips, close enough to set every nerve in my body on fire. The world outside didn't matter anymore. Only his eyes locked on mine, full of hunger, full of danger. My pulse raced, torn between fear and desire, as if a single touch would shatter everything. And yet, I wanted him closer. Welcome to Pure Blush BL. If you love steamy romance, betrayal, and unforgettable love stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Sit back, relax, and let the story pull you in. The night sky over Seoul glittered with lights, but my eyes weren't on the stars. They were on the tall glass tower in front of me, the Yoon Grand Hotel, home to tonight's charity gala. The banners outside spoke of hope and kindness, but I knew the truth. Behind those smiles and speeches hid lies, greed, and corruption. My name is Kang Ji-won. I was an investigative journalist, though most people in the city thought of me as a troublemaker. I didn't care. Truth was truth, and someone had to dig it out, even if it meant crawling into places I didn't belong. I tightened my grip on the small camera hidden inside my jacket. My heart thumped hard. This wasn't the first time I snuck into places like this, but tonight felt different. Bigger. More dangerous. I slipped past the front guards, moving with the crowd. My borrowed suit fit well enough, though I felt out of place among the rich and polished guests. Perfume filled the air, mixed with the sound of laughter and clinking glasses. Everywhere I looked, people smiled too brightly, as if hiding something behind their masks. I had one goal: to find proof that the Yoon family was using their company's charity to wash dirty money. If I got that proof, it would be the story of the year. Maybe even enough to finally break them. Inside, golden chandeliers lit the ballroom. Women in sparkling gowns twirled as music floated from a live orchestra. Men in black suits laughed loudly, shaking hands as if they owned the world. My stomach turned. I kept my head low and moved through the crowd, pretending to belong. My eyes scanned the hall, searching for signs, anything that could lead me to their secrets. And then I saw him. Yoon Tae-min. I had seen his face before on magazine covers and news articles. The heir to the Yoon Empire. Handsome. Perfect. Untouchable. But in person, he was sharper, colder. His black suit fit him like it was made for him alone. His dark eyes were steady, almost too steady, and his lips curved in a line that seemed carved from stone. He stood in the center of the ballroom, people orbiting around him like moths around a flame. His presence was heavy, commanding, and yet he didn't even try. He just stood there, sipping his drink, and the world bent toward him. I told myself to look away. I wasn't here for him. I was here for proof. But his gaze lifted suddenly, and our eyes met across the crowded room. For a moment, I froze. His eyes held me like chains, cold but burning. My heart stuttered. I quickly turned away and walked fast, pretending I hadn't noticed. I slipped out of the ballroom and down a quiet hallway. The music faded behind me, replaced by silence and the soft echo of my shoes on the marble floor. My palms grew damp with sweat. I had memorized the hotel map. There was an office where the Yoon family kept sensitive documents. If luck was on my side, I'd find something there. The hall was dim, lined with portraits of old men who all wore the same proud smirk. Their eyes seemed to follow me, as if warning me to turn back. I found the door. Locked. But I had come prepared. Pulling out a small tool from my pocket, I crouched and worked on the lock. My hands trembled, but after a few clicks, the door gave way. I slipped inside, heart racing. The office smelled of leather and old paper. Shelves filled with files stretched across the walls. A massive desk stood in the center, clean and polished, too perfect to be innocent. I moved quickly, opening drawers, snapping photos of anything suspicious, transaction records, signed contracts, numbers that didn't add up. My heart pounded harder with every file I touched. This was it, the truth. But then, the door clicked shut behind me. I froze. Slowly I turned. And there he was. Yoon Tae-min leaned against the door, arms crossed. His face was calm, too calm, but his eyes were sharp, watching me like a predator who had caught its prey. For a long moment, the room was silent except for the sound of my own breathing. "You don't belong here," he said finally, his voice low and steady. I swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. And you don't belong on top of a company built on lies. His brow arched slightly, amused. He stepped closer, each movement smooth and deliberate. My body tensed. The air between us grew heavy, charged with something I couldn't explain. "You're brave," he said softly, stopping only a foot away. His cologne was warm and sharp, and it made my chest tighten. But bravery, without caution, that's how people get burned. I tried to step back, but the desk pressed against me. His nearness was overwhelming, his gaze locking me in place. "You think you know the truth," he whispered, his eyes darkening. "But you don't know anything." My throat went dry. His face was so close I could see the faint scar near his jaw, the softness hidden under his sharp mask. My heart hammered, not just from fear, but from something I didn't want to admit. I forced myself to glare. "Then tell me, what don't I know?" For a second, his lips curved, almost like a smile. But it wasn't kind. It was dangerous. "You don't know," he said slowly, each word heavy, "what you've just stepped into." His words fell over me like chains, binding me in fear, and something far more dangerous, desire. And then the lights flickered, the sound of footsteps echoing in the hallway outside. Taemin's eyes stayed locked on mine, sharp and unreadable, as if daring me to move, to speak, to breathe. The door handle rattled. Someone else was coming. I knew then that my night had only just begun. When the article went live, my hand shook. The glowing screen in front of me carried words that would shake the city. Yoon conglomerate's charity tied to hidden offshore accounts. I had worked on it for weeks, chasing shadows, connecting numbers, and sneaking into that gala. My heart raced as I refreshed the page. Already, comments poured in. Some called me brave. Others called me stupid. I didn't care. For the first time in a long while, I felt alive. But that feeling didn't last. By noon, my phone exploded with calls. Threats, bribes, warnings. Some voices promised lawsuits. Others promised I wouldn't live to write again. I ignored them, but fear scratched at the back of my mind. The Yoon family was too powerful. What if they decided to crush me? That night, I sat in my tiny apartment, lights off, curtains closed. My chest felt heavy. I had pushed too far, maybe too fast. Then my phone buzzed. A message. "Meet me. Midnight. Rooftop of Han River Bridge. Come alone." No name. Just the words. My stomach twisted. It could be a trap. But something told me who it was. Something in the way the letters sat on the screen. Sharp, direct, confident. Taemin. The city glowed like fireflies as I reached the bridge. The wind whipped cold across the water, and the air carried the faint smell of metal and smoke. I climbed the steps and stood on the rooftop, my heart hammering in my chest. And then he was there. Yoon Taemin stepped out of the shadows, tall and calm, dressed in black like the night itself. His face was unreadable, but his eyes locked on me the moment I appeared. "You're either very brave," he said softly, his voice carrying over the wind, "or very foolish." I swallowed. "You sent the message?" His lips curved faintly, not a smile, not exactly. "You think I'd let someone else meet you here?" I stayed silent, waiting. He walked closer, each step measured, like he owned the ground beneath him. The closer he came, the tighter my chest grew. He stopped just in front of me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, clean, sharp, with a warmth that lingered. "You think your little article hurts us," he said, his eyes searching mine. "But you barely touched the surface." Anger flared in me. "If you know more, then tell me. Or are you here to threaten me too?" His gaze didn't waver. Slowly, he reached into his coat and pulled out a folder. He held it between us, his hand steady. "Take it," he said. I frowned. "What is it?" "Proof," he answered. "Real proof. Records, transfers, names. Enough to burn half of my family's empire." I froze. My hand trembled as I reached for the folder. "Why?" I whispered. For the first time, his mask cracked. His eyes softened, just for a second. "Because I want you to keep digging. Because I want you to see the truth." The folder felt heavy in my hands. I stared at him, searching for the trap, the trick. But all I found was his steady gaze, deep and dark, pulling me in. "Why help me?" I asked. He leaned closer, his breath brushing against my cheek. My heart jumped. Maybe, he said quietly. I'm curious about you. My throat went dry. The wind howled around us, but all I could feel was the heat between us, the closeness, the way his words wrapped around me like chains I couldn't break. From that night, it began. We met in secret. Late nights, quiet places, away from the eyes of the world. Sometimes in empty cafes, sometimes in quiet alleys, sometimes in his sleek black car where the city lights painted the windows. Each time, he brought me more. Documents, names, numbers. Each time, my articles grew sharper, louder. Each time, the danger grew. And each time, so did the tension between us. One night, I sat in his car, the city glowing outside. He leaned back in the driver's seat, his jacket open, his shirt collar loose. I held a stack of papers in my lap, but I couldn't focus. His presence filled the small space, pressing in on me from every side. You know, I said, my voice unsteady, you're risking everything by helping me. He turned his head, his eyes meeting mine. The air grew heavy. And you're risking your life by taking it, he said. I tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. Maybe I'm a fool. His lips curved. This time, it was almost a real smile. Or maybe you're the only one brave enough to stand up to us. The way he looked at me made my chest tighten. It wasn't just curiosity. It wasn't just danger. It was something more, something I couldn't name, something I was afraid to name. I looked away, my fingers gripping the papers too tightly. My skin burned, not from fear, but from the way his gaze lingered on me. G1, he said softly. My head snapped back toward him. The way my name sounded in his voice sent shivers down my spine. He leaned closer, slow, steady, until I could feel the warmth of him, until the space between us was nothing but breath and fire. My heart pounded, so loudly I thought he could hear it. For a moment, I thought he would close the distance. For a moment, I wanted him to. But he stopped, his lips just a whisper away. His eyes held mine, dark and unreadable. This world will eat you alive, he whispered. Be careful who you trust. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My entire body trembled, caught between fear and desire. Then it happened. A sudden flash of light outside the car. I blinked, startled. Another flash. A camera. My blood turned cold. Someone was taking pictures. I turned toward the window, but the street outside was empty. Whoever it was had already vanished into the night. My hand shook. Did you see that? Taemin's jaw tightened. His eyes darkened, his calm mask cracking just enough to show anger. He reached forward, starting the engine. Stay down, he ordered. His voice was low, dangerous. I ducked, my heart racing. The car roared to life, speeding into the night. And as the city lights blurred past, I knew one thing for certain. We weren't just chasing the truth anymore. The truth was chasing us. I thought I could keep things quiet. I thought the picture of me and Taemin inside his car would never leave the shadows. But I was wrong. The morning sun had barely touched my window when my phone began to buzz like it was alive. I reached out, eyes heavy, only to see dozens of notifications. Headlines flashed on my screen. Yoon Taemin seen with unknown man late at night. Is the Yoon heir hiding something? My heart raced. My fingers went cold. They had found us. That one photo, me leaning toward him, his hand near mine, was everywhere online. I sat up fast, my breath uneven. The room felt too small, too hot. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was press my phone to my chest. They know, I whispered to myself. The whole world knows. Later that day, I met Taemin at his private office. He was calm, too calm, as if the storm outside could not touch him. His perfect black suit hugged his tall frame, his dark eyes sharp but unreadable. Don't panic, he said, his voice like smooth stone. The media will chase the story, yes. But they will not dare cross me. I stared at him, my chest tight. You don't understand. I'm not you. I don't have an army of lawyers or bodyguards. They will come after me. They will dig into my life. For a moment, his gaze softened, almost like he cared. Then, just as quickly, he looked away. I will handle it, he said. But not everyone was silent. That evening, at another event hosted by the Yoon family, I met Seo Hwan, Taemin's cousin. He smiled like a fox, eyes glinting with secrets. "You're the journalist, aren't you?" he asked, swirling his drink. I stiffened. "I don't know what you mean." "Oh, don't play dumb." He stepped closer, whispering so only I could hear. "I saw the photo. The internet saw it too. You and dear Taemin, how interesting." My throat felt dry. His words crawled into my ears like poison. "What do you want from me?" I asked. Seo Hwan smirked. "Nothing. Not yet. But tell me, Ji-won, why would my cousin risk everything for you? Doesn't that make you wonder?" The question burned in my chest. Why would Taemin help me? Why would an heir betray his powerful family by giving me documents that could ruin them? When I finally looked back at Taemin across the room, his eyes met mine. Cold, serious, but there was something else. Something hidden. That night we met again. Not in his office. Not in some fancy event hall. But in a quiet parking lot where the shadows wrapped around us like secrets. "You shouldn't be here," I said, though my voice shook. "And yet here I am," Taemin replied. His face was close, too close. I could smell the faint trace of his cologne, sharp and dark like midnight rain. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, almost shouting. "Why betray your own family? Why risk being seen with me? What do you want from me?" For the first time, he lost that mask of control. His jaw tightened. His hand reached out, almost touching mine, then stopping in the air. "What if I said it's you I want?" he whispered. My heart slammed against my ribs. Heat rushed to my face. The air between us felt heavy, like it could break. I shook my head, but I didn't move away. "Don't say things like that. You don't mean it." His eyes darkened. "I do." And then it happened. His lips pressed against mine, fierce and hungry. My body froze, then melted into him, my hands gripping his jacket as if I would fall without it. The kiss was fire, wild, dangerous, and wrong, but I couldn't stop. I could feel his heartbeat racing against my chest, and for a moment, the world outside did not exist. It was only him, only me, only the taste of a truth we both feared. When he finally pulled back, his breath brushed my cheek. "This is dangerous," he said. "I know," I whispered, trembling. "But I can't stop." The night ended, but my thoughts did not. I walked home with shaking legs, my lips still burning. I wanted him. I hated that I wanted him. When I reached my apartment, I turned on the lights and dropped my bag on the floor. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up, expecting another headline. But it wasn't news. It was a message. "Stop digging, or you'll end up dead." The blood drained from my face. My hand shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. The shadows in my apartment seemed darker now, the silence heavier. They knew. Someone out there knew what I was doing. And they wanted me gone. I sank onto the couch, clutching my phone to my chest. My mind screamed with fear, but deep inside, one thought burned brighter than the rest. If I stayed close to Taemin, I would either find the truth or be destroyed by it. And I didn't know which fate scared me more. I told myself I needed to walk away. After the kiss, after the warning message, I wanted to run as far as I could. But no matter how many times I repeated those words, my heart would not listen. It beat louder every time I thought of Taemin. His lips, his voice, his eyes that could be both ice and fire. I avoided him for 2 days. I did not answer his calls. I ignored his texts. I thought if I starved myself of him, the fire inside me would burn out. But it only grew worse. By the third night, I sat in the dark of my small apartment, staring at my phone, waiting for it to ring. It did. G1, his voice came through low and steady, but softer than before. "Stop hiding from me. I need to see you." My chest tightened. "It's too dangerous. People are watching. I don't care," he cut in. "I said I would protect you. And I meant it." We met in a quiet cafe outside the city, far from flashing cameras and whispering crowds. He wore simple clothes this time, dark hoodie, cap pulled low, but no disguise could hide the weight he carried. When I sat across from him, I wanted to yell, to demand answers. But when I saw his face, I couldn't. His shoulders were heavy, his eyes tired. And for the first time, Yoon Tae-min looked less like an untouchable heir and more like a man drowning quietly in chains. "You shouldn't have come," I whispered, hands gripping the warm coffee cup. He leaned forward, his eyes burning into mine. "I told you, I'll keep you safe. I don't care what they say. I don't care who threatens you. You're not alone in this." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the journalist in me screamed not to trust him. He was still a Yoon, still blood of the family I had sworn to expose. So I asked the question that had been eating at me. Why? My voice cracked. Why risk all of this for me? His eyes dropped to the table. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he took a slow breath, and when he looked back at me, his mask was gone. "Because I'm trapped, Ji-won." His voice was raw, shaking. "My whole life has been a prison made of gold. Do you know what it's like to live without choice? To smile when they say smile, to kneel when they say kneel, to wear a crown that feels like a noose." I swallowed hard. His words cut into me deeper than I expected. He wasn't just confessing, he was bleeding. "I help you," he went on, "because I need you to see me. Not the air, not the name, me. And when you look at me, I feel free." The cafe was quiet around us, but inside my chest was a storm. I should have pulled away. I should have reminded him of the danger. But instead, I leaned closer, my hand brushing against his across the table. His fingers curled around mine, firm but trembling. And in that moment, all my walls cracked. The rain followed us back to his car. Heavy, cold drops blurred the world outside the windows, leaving us in our own small world. The silence was thick, filled with things we hadn't said. When he reached for me, I didn't resist. His hand cupped my cheek, warm against my cold skin. "Ji-won," he whispered, as if my name itself could break him. And then his lips found mine again, softer this time. Not fire, but something more dangerous, something tender. I melted into him, my hand clutching his chest, feeling his heart race against my palm. His arms pulled me closer, until there was no space left between us, only heat and hunger and the ache of two people who shouldn't want this, but did. The kiss deepened, and I felt my breath slip away, stolen by him. Every touch was a promise, every sigh a confession. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, and his voice trembled. "This is wrong," he said, "but I don't care." "Neither do I whispered, my lips brushing his. We stayed like that, locked in the small, fogged-up car, hearts beating too fast, hands tangled, breaths mingling. A secret romance was born in that fragile space, one built on stolen moments and quiet fire. For days after, we lived in that hidden flame. Midnight calls, quick meetings in quiet alleys, glances that lingered too long at crowded gatherings. Every touch felt like a crime, every kiss like a secret carved into my skin. But I was still a journalist. I was still digging. Late one night, after he dropped me off and disappeared into the shadows, I sat at my desk with a folder of papers spread out before me. Documents I had collected, whispers I had chased, threads I had tied together. My pen tapped nervously against the desk as I followed the lines, the numbers, the hidden deals. And then I saw it. One file stood out, contracts, money transfers, shell companies. All tied to corruption, to crimes that stained the Yoon name black. But what froze my blood was the signature. Yoon Tae-min. My hand shook as I held the page. My heart thundered in my ears. The man who kissed me, who swore to protect me, who showed me his broken self. Was he also part of the very crimes I was fighting to expose? The paper slipped from my fingers, falling to the floor. My lips trembled. Had I fallen in love with my enemy? The paper with Tae-min's signature haunted me for 2 nights straight. I could not eat. I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, his lips against mine, his voice whispering that he wanted me. But when I opened my eyes, all I saw was proof that he was not only part of the Yoon family crimes. He was tangled in them. By the 3rd night, I could not hold it inside anymore. I called him. "We need to talk," I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "Where?" His tone was calm, too calm. "My place. Tonight." When he arrived, he looked different. Not in his clothes, still neat, still dark, still powerful. It was his eyes. They carried worry this time, like he already knew what was coming. I dropped the folder on the table between us. The papers scattered like broken glass. His eyes fell on them, then back on me. "What is this?" he asked quietly. "You tell me," I said. My chest was tight, my hands shaking. "Your name. Your signature. Proof that you're not just helping me. You're part of the same crimes I've been risking my life to expose." He didn't move. Didn't even blink. Just stared at me, jaw clenched. "G1, he said at last. "You don't understand." I snapped. "Then explain. Because right now all I see is betrayal. All I feel is like a fool who kissed the enemy." The words cut out of me, sharper than knives. For a second, pain flickered across his face. Then he stepped forward, his voice low but trembling. "I leaked those documents to you. Yes, they have my name. Yes, they have my signature. But don't you see? That's why I gave them to you. To destroy the chains my family wrapped around me. I needed a reason to be near you. A reason to stand by you. Don't twist this into something it's not." I stared at him, my breath shallow. My heart wanted to believe him, but my head screamed not to. "An excuse to be near me?" I whispered. He closed the space between us, his hand reaching for mine, but stopping just short. "I couldn't stay away, Juan. From the first night you stepped into that gala, I knew you would ruin me, and I wanted it." His eyes burned into mine, raw and desperate. And just like that, the walls I had built started to shake. I should have pushed him back. I should have kept demanding answers. Instead, I felt myself lean into him. His hand finally found mine, warm and steady, and my body betrayed me by melting into his touch. "Do you hate me?" he asked, his voice cracking. "I don't know," I whispered. "But I can't stop wanting you." That was all it took. His lips crashed against mine, hard and full of fire. I gasped into the kiss, my anger and my longing tangled together. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me against his chest like he was afraid I would vanish if he let go. The kiss was not gentle this time. It was fierce, desperate, almost painful. Every bite of his lips, every press of his tongue tasted like both a confession and an apology. I clung to him, my hands gripping his shirt, my heart beating too fast. When we finally broke apart, both of us were shaking, our foreheads pressed together. "This will destroy us," I whispered. "Then let it," he breathed. "As long as I have you." But the world outside was not blind. Co. Juan's shadow stretched longer each day. I noticed it at the next company event I sneaked into, how he watched Taemin with sharp eyes, how he smiled whenever reporters mentioned the leaked stories. He was like a predator circling, waiting for his chance to strike. And Taemin noticed too. That night, when we were alone again, he admitted it. "Juan is tightening his grip. Every move I make, he watches. Every word I say, he twists. He's waiting for me to fall so he can take everything." "And if he finds out about us?" I asked. His hand found mine under the table. "Then he'll use you to break me." The words chilled me, but I didn't pull away. It was late when I finally left his side that night. The city was dark, the streets wet with fresh rain. I drove home, my mind spinning with his confession, his kiss, his touch. That was when the headlights appeared behind me. At first, I thought nothing of it. Just another car on the road. But then it sped up, swerving close to my bumper, too close. My heart raced. I tried to change lanes. It followed. I slowed down. It sped up. "God, no," I whispered, gripping the wheel tight. The car behind me rammed into mine, hard enough to jolt my body forward. I gasped, fighting to stay in control. My tires screeched against the wet road. "Stop it. Stop," I shouted, though no one could hear. Another hit came, stronger this time. My car swayed, almost spinning. Panic clawed at my throat. Whoever it was, they wanted me off the road. They wanted me gone. I slammed the wheel to the side, swerving into a narrow alley. The other car followed for a moment, then stopped at the mouth of the alley, its headlights burning into my rearview mirror. And then, just like that, it backed away, vanished into the night. I sat there, chest heaving, sweat cold on my forehead. My hands clutched the wheel, shaking too hard to let go. Someone had tried to kill me. And the worst part was, I didn't know if it was the Yoon family or someone closer. I couldn't forget the headlights. Even when I closed my eyes, I saw them burning into me, chasing me, forcing me off the road. My body still shook days later. My car was scratched and broken, but it was nothing compared to the fear inside me. I kept asking myself the same question. Who wanted me dead? Part of me knew the answer. Seo Hwan. His smirk, his sly words, the way he had been circling Taemin like a hawk, it all made sense. But knowing and proving were not the same. I had nothing in my hands but fear. When I finally told Taemin about the attack, his reaction shocked me. We sat in his office, the curtains drawn, the city lights outside glowing faintly. I placed my shaking hands on his desk and whispered, "Someone tried to run me off the road. I know it was him. Seo Hwan." For a long time, Taemin didn't speak. He just sat there, silent, his jaw tight, his fists slowly curling on the table. And then, when he finally lifted his head, his eyes were darker than I had ever seen. "If he touched you," Taemin said, his voice sharp like broken glass, "I'll kill him." I froze. His words were not a threat said in anger. They were a promise, cold and real. "You can't," I began, my voice weak. "I can," he snapped. Then his tone dropped, low and trembling. "G1, he thinks he can use you to break me. He thinks you're my weakness. He's wrong. You're my strength. And if he lays a finger on you again, I will end him." My chest tightened. I had seen Taemin strong. I had seen him broken. But this was different. This was a side of him that frightened me and pulled me closer all at once. That night, I tried to argue with myself. I told myself he was dangerous, that his family's blood was in his veins, that I should run before he pulled me into the darkness with him. But when he pulled me into his arms, I melted. His hands were strong on my back, his lips warm against my hair, his voice soft in my ear. "I can't lose you," he whispered. "Not now. Not ever." And I realized the truth. I didn't want to leave. Even if it destroyed me, I wanted him. Our love grew heavier after that. Every kiss felt like it could be the last. Every touch carried the weight of danger around us. One night, we sat in his car, hidden under the shadows of an empty street. Rain tapped against the roof, soft and steady, while inside, our breaths grew fast. He leaned closer, his hand brushing my cheek. "Do you trust me?" he asked. I looked into his eyes, dark, dangerous, and yet so full of pain and longing. My lips trembled, but I nodded. Yes. His lips met mine, slow at first, then burning, pulling me deeper. His hands tangled in my hair, mine clutching his shirt as if I would fall without him. The kiss was fire and storm, fear and hope. When we pulled apart, our foreheads touched, our breaths hot and fast. "Promise me," he whispered. "Promise you won't walk away." "I promise," I whispered back, though part of me knew promises in our world could break as easily as glass. But safety was only an illusion. That night, after leaving him, I returned to my apartment. The street was quiet, too quiet. I glanced around, uneasy, but told myself it was only nerves. I unlocked the door to my building, stepped inside, and started up the stairs. That was when I heard it, footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy. My heart pounded. I turned, but the stairwell light flickered, and shadows stretched over the walls. "Hello," I called, my voice shaking. No answer, only the sound of steps getting closer. I tried to move faster, my keys slipping in my hand. And then, a rough arm wrapped around me from behind. A hand clamped over my mouth. My phone slipped from my grip, crashing onto the steps. "Quiet," a voice hissed in my ear. I thrashed, kicking, clawing, but the grip was iron. Another figure appeared from the shadows, face hidden, eyes cold. The last thing I saw before they dragged me into the darkness was my phone screen, still glowing faintly on the stairs. And then the world went black. Thank you so much for watching this episode on Pure Blush BL. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment, and share your support. Your love keeps our stories alive. Stay tuned for the next chapter of passion, betrayal, and heart-stopping romance.